In the dim light of dawn, a grim spectacle unfolds. A horse, majestic in form yet grotesquely marred by a nightmare-made flesh. Upon its flank nests a monstrous hive, a festering fortress of bees embedded like dark parasites in living tissue. This is no ordinary wound, but a toxic ecosystem, a buzzing nightmare carved into flesh and sinew, where millions of tiny invaders have transformed vitality into decay. The air is thick with the sickly sweet stench of honey mingled with the copper tang of blood, a nauseating perfume that lingers like a curse. To gaze upon this brutal tableau is to glimpse the fragile boundary between nature's beauty and its savage cruelty. The horse, a noble creature reduced to a host for a relentless, stinging army. Bee infestation in horses is a rare but horrific phenomenon. Unlike the comforting image of bees as pollinators or honeymakers, here they reveal a darker side. When a colony establishes itself in the soft tissue of a horse body, usually a wound or an open sore, it begins to build a hive that contradicts all notions of tenderness. The bees burrow, lay wax, and produce honey amidst the raw, inflamed flesh, creating a grotesque blend of biology and hive architecture. This hive grows larger day by day, bursting like a balloon filled with viscous nectar and blood. The affected skin swells, festers, and weakens, becoming inflamed and oozy, often emitting a foul smell as necrotic tissue succumbs to infection. Scientifically, the process begins with a colony's queen finding refuge, where the horse's natural defenses have been compromised. A cut from a thorn, a fly bite turned septic, or a previously untreated wound. Worker bees follow, guarding the site, secreting wax, and bringing in nectar from nearby flowers. The immune system of the horse rallies, sending white blood cells to wage a microscopic war. In the shadowed quiet of a forgotten forest glade stands a white horse. Its coat, once a symbol of purity and grace, now marred by a grotesque and macabre wound that seems almost otherworldly. The gaping hive embedded in its side pulsates with dark life, a horrid testament to a parasitic invasion far beyond natural harmony. This is no ordinary injury. It is a festering theater of morbidity, where thousands of tiny wings buzz relentlessly and mandibles chew with brutal precision, transforming flesh and bone into a hive's labyrinthine fortress. The scene is both repulsive and riveting. One cannot look away, caught between disgust and morbid curiosity, wondering how nature has conspired to create such a spectacle of pain and survival. Bees, typically revered as diligent architects of order in nature, have here become agents of decay. A swarm turned sinister. The infection began perhaps as a minor abrasion, a scratch forgotten beneath the dense brush, but soon spiraled into a monstrous colony. The bees, instead of seeking flowers, made a grisly choice. The horse's flesh is their new honeycombed home. Their hexagonal cells. In the frozen desolation of the Arctic, life clings precariously to survival amid untouched whiteness and biting cold. But hidden beneath the pristine snow and glacial silence is an eerie, unsettling scene. A polar bear, majestic, and once a symbol of raw polar power, now marked by a grotesque hive of bee larvae crawling and pulsating grotesquely on its right flank. The flesh here is torn open like a sore battlefield, the wound festering with layers of waxy honeycomb, dripping dark, viscous honey stained with streaks of blood. This isn't a natural battle scar. This monstrosity speaks of an inexplicable infestation, a bewildering siege by bees in an environment hostile to their kind. It's a scenario that provocatively twists our understanding of the natural order, inviting both revulsion and awe. The hive, a sprawling, flesh-bound prison, hums quietly, a grotesque lullaby in the endless Arctic night. Tiny bees flitter about, clustered around the wound's edge, as if guarding a gruesome treasure. Their bodies brush against soft, peeling skin. Their shadows crawl over layers of decayed tissue and matted fur. The bear, a victim turned unwilling host, moves sluggishly through the snow, weighed down by its own expanding horror. The buzzing is a sinister soundtrack to the animal's silent suffering, the rotting hive acting as both fortress and parasite. What strange twist of fate could call bees, the master architects of warm meadows and blossoming flowers, to a predator of the frozen wastes? This infestation is no accident of nature alone. In the unforgiving wilderness, life clings to survival with brutal tenacity. Few sights are as haunting as a lion caught in the grip of an unnatural horror. Imagine a majestic beast, king of the savannah, now wearing a grotesque crown, not of gold or glory, but crafted by a colony of merciless bees. This lion's body bears a horrific wound, a distorted hive protruding grotesquely from its flank, pulsating with life and decay. The wound festers like a dark anthem of nature's cruel irony, the ruler of all beasts brought low by the smallest tormentors. At first glance, this gruesome spectacle may seem like the stuff of nightmare, yet it unfolds in the stark reality of the ecological battlefield where insect and mammal collide in a strange dance of morbidity and survival. This honeycomb wound is no mere superficial injury. It is a suitable home for a thrumming mass of bees, thousands of them, to nest. The bees drill tirelessly into the lion's flesh and skin, forcing their hive deeper, enlarging their fortress by enmeshing it with the lion's raw tissue. The lion's fur is torn, matted with dried blood and yellow wax, oozing a putrid mix of infection and honey. The wound's edges are swollen and inflamed, thrumming with a pain that likely radiates endlessly from the puncture site to the beast's very bones. The air around this macabre hive buzzes incessantly, a sinister symphony of tiny wings and a venomous stench of rot and sting. The lion's natural defenses, its powerful body, its stamina, and its survival instincts are weakened by this ongoing infestation, a slow, brutal siege that eats away at its strength and spirit. Bees, often regarded as diligent pollinators and charming producers of honey, bear a darker side in this narrative. They are opportunists of macabre hospitality, exploiting vulnerability with a ruthless efficiency. Normally, bees build their hives in the protection of trees or rock crevices, but here they have invaded living flesh, feeding not just on nectar but leveraging the lion's biology itself. Their hive consists of hexagonal cells, meticulously crafted from wax secreted by their own bodies, but now mingling with the lion's blood and skin. The larvae within these cells feast on dead tissue and refuse, turning the wound into a grim incubation chamber. The buzzing army relentlessly guards their domain, relentlessly stinging the lion whenever it moves or attempts to shake off its tormentors. This swarm represents a bizarre twist in ecological interactions, a vicious parasitic relationship concealed beneath the veneer of nature's order. This infestation disrupts the lion's ability to hunt and govern its territory. Lion limps, its movements sluggish and erratic, throat growling in bouts of frustration. The infection threatens. In a disturbing moment of nature's unfiltered reality, we find ourselves gazing upon a creature that once symbolized pastoral serenity, a sheep burdened by a grotesque hive, a festering anomaly of wax, saliva, and invading insects. This gruesome mass, precariously jutting from the animal's flesh, pulsates with the restless activity of a tenacious swarm. It's a spectacle both repellent and fascinating, a living emblem of infestation that commands both scientific curiosity and visceral horror. The sheep, with its wool matted and stained by the hive's ooze, moves sluggishly, weighed down not merely by the physical mass, but by the burden of an unnatural alliance forged in pain and survival. Beneath this hideous exterior is the story of a parasitic takeover, a bee colony that has exploited a vulnerable host, transforming warm wool and skin into a perverse sanctuary. These, traditionally architects of symmetrical combs and flowers embrace, have here adopted a sinister role. They have burrowed into the soft tissues, constructing waxen tunnels bristling with larvae and thrumming bodies in an alien, buzzing microcosm of life and disease. The hive secretes a moist, sticky exudate that attracts further insects, bacteria, and pathogens, each layer compounding the sheep's torment. The foul odor is a cocktail of fermented honey, decaying flesh, and the unwashed musk of an animal caught in microbial warfare. The sheep's distress is palpable, its eyes dull with exhaustion, while the hive's inhabitants carry on in brutal indifference, oblivious to the suffering they propagate. This macabre phenomenon, in the depths of a dense forest, bathed in the shadows of ominous tree canopies, a tiger staggers through the underbrush, a grotesque spectacle unto itself. The majestic predator, once a symbol of raw power and grace, now drags a terrible burden on its flank, an enormous, festering hive, pulsating with a malevolent life of its own. This gruesome outgrowth, a labyrinth of wax and honeycombs, clings to its skin like a parasitic tumor, oozing with pus and thrumming with the incessant buzzing of thousands of bees. What you see here is not a mere wound, but a nightmarish colony, where the line between victim and host blurs in a sinister symbiosis. The infestation began innocuously enough, Bees, drawn perhaps by the sweet scent of blood mingling with the tiger's natural pheromones, started to settle on small abrasions, but what was once a minor irritation has escalated into a full-blown invasion. The bees, meticulous architects, have constructed a hive directly onto the animal's flesh, their waxy cells burrowing into muscle and sinew. Each cell is filled with larvae, writhing in the gooey nectar, feeding on the tiger's deteriorating tissues. The relentless stings have caused necrosis, breaking down tissue and creating pockets of infection. The air around the creature is thick with the acrid sting of decay and the sharp, cloying sweetness of honey mixed with blood. This hive is not a mere parasite. It is a monstrous entity that has turned the tiger into an